I am 79 years old. I have buried my brother. I have buried my wife. I have buried the only man who ever saved my life. And I wasn't there when they put him in the ground. I got shrapnel in my left shoulder from a city most Americans can't even pronounce. I got 40 years of welding slag in my lungs. And I got a dog named Biscuit, who's the only one left in this house who doesn't look at me like I'm a problem to solve. I am not here to inspire you. I am not here to make you feel good. I am here because I'm running out of time to say what I should have said 40 years ago. And you, whoever you are watching this, you are making the same mistakes I made. You just don't know it yet. And that comfortable little feeling you got right now, that feeling like you got time to figure it all out later, that's the most dangerous thing you own. I'm sitting in my kitchen right now. Same kitchen Lorraine and I ate in for 30-something years. There's a crack in the ceiling above the stove, been there since '94. And I keep saying, I'm going to fix it. I'm not going to fix it. The house is quiet in a way that, it's hard to explain if you haven't lived it. It's not peaceful quiet. It's the kind of quiet that has weight, like the air got heavier when she left. I still got 2 coffee mugs on the shelf, and I know that's a thing people talk about, keeping the dead person's stuff around. But I ain't doing it for sentimental reasons. I just can't reach the shelf to take it down. And I ain't asking Marcus to drive 2 hours to move a coffee mug. Lorraine's mug got a chip on the handle from when Denise threw a basketball in the house in 1983. That chip is older than most of you watching this. You know what I notice about people your age? And I don't mean this ugly. I'm just telling you what I see. You think being busy is the same thing as being present. You think because you're in the room, you showed up. You didn't show up. Your body showed up. Your mind was somewhere else. Somewhere that felt more urgent, more important. I know because I did the exact same thing for decades, and I called it providing. I called it responsibility. I called it being a man. I'd sit at the dinner table with Lorraine and the kids, and my head was still inside the hull of some Navy destroyer, still running a bead down a seam, still thinking about the overtime sheet. And Lorraine, she never once said, "Cecil, you're not here." She just got quieter, year by year. And I was too stupid to hear what the silence meant. The silence meant she stopped asking for something she knew she wasn't going to get. There was a man I worked with at Detchens, name of Otis Pemberton. Big man, dark as me, hands like catcher's mitts. Otis was a burner, did the cutting before I came in and welded. We worked together almost every day for 11 years. Hull jobs, refit jobs, you name it. You'd be down in the double bottom of a ship, 95 degrees, can't see nothing but the arc. And Otis would be next to you, singing Marvin Gaye under his breath, like he was at a cookout. That man could make the inside of a ship feel like somebody's backyard. One day, I don't know, maybe 81, 82, we were on lunch break sitting on the dock, and I had this lighter in my hand. I always carry it. It's a Zippo, plain steel, no engraving. Doesn't even work anymore. Hasn't lit since Reagan's first term. Otis looked at it and said, "That thing don't light, why you carry it?" And I said, "Because somebody gave it to me." And he said, "Must have been somebody important." And I said, "Yeah." And that was the whole conversation. Otis never asked again. That's how men were back then, I guess. You said "yeah," and that meant the doors closed, and people respected the door. Otis died of mesothelioma in '96. The asbestos in those ships. They knew. The Navy knew. The shipyard knew. Otis didn't know. He went from 240 pounds to 130 in about 4 months. Last time I visited him at Roper Hospital, he looked at me and said, "Cecil, I think the Lord got the wrong file." I think about that. I think about that sentence probably once a week. The wrong file. Like God was just doing paperwork and made a clerical error. That's the kind of thing that either makes you laugh or makes you lose your religion. Depending on the day, I've done both. Speaking of losing things, I'll tell you something funny. Well, not funny. Maybe funny. My knees sound like somebody stepping on bubble wrap when I get up in the morning. Both of them. I get out of bed and it sounds like a standing ovation from my own skeleton. Biscuit looks at me like I'm assembling myself. And maybe I am. 79 years old. You don't wake up. You negotiate with your body for permission to stand. My shoulder, the one with the shrapnel, it predicts rain better than the Weather Channel. If it aches on Tuesday, it's raining Thursday. I should charge the local news for my services. I won't, but I should. The rain used to say, "Cecil, you're falling apart like a Buick." And I'd say, "Baby, I'm a Chevrolet. Get it right." She didn't laugh. She never laughed at my jokes. 48 years, and that woman never once laughed at something I said on purpose. She'd laugh when I tripped or dropped something, never at the joke. I think that's love, actually. Real love is somebody who stays even though you're not funny. But the thing I need to tell you, the thing that sits on my chest like a cinder block every single night, is about a man named Danny Scoville. Private First Class Daniel Scoville, Harlan County, Kentucky. White boy, skinny, had this gap between his front teeth and ears that stuck out like he was trying to pick up a radio signal. Danny was 20 years old in Hue. I was 21. We were in 1st Battalion, 5th Marines, and in January of '68, the North Vietnamese Army walked into that city like they owned it, and for about 3 weeks, they did. You hear people talk about Vietnam like it was all jungle. Hue wasn't jungle. Hue was a city, houses, schools, a citadel built like a fortress. And we went through it, room by room, wall by wall. And I saw things in those rooms that I have never described to another living person. and I'm not going to start now. What I will tell you is this. There was a night, I think February 3rd, maybe 4th, the dates blur, and our squad was pinned in a courtyard near the south wall of the Citadel. There was fire coming from a building across the street, automatic, and we couldn't move. We were flat on the ground behind a wall that was about 2 feet high, and I remember thinking, this wall is not high enough. This is not enough wall. And Danny was next to me, and he said, and I remember this exactly, he said, "Cecil, when this is over, I'm going to eat a whole pie. Not a slice, a whole pie. Apple." And I'll tell you, lying there with rounds going over your head, that sentence was the funniest thing I ever heard in my life. A whole pie. Like the war was just an inconvenience between him and dessert. 2 days later, a sniper round hit Danny in the lower back, went through his spine. He was alive. He was conscious. He looked at me, and his face didn't even change. Like his body knew something his mind hadn't caught up to yet. They medevaced him out, and I didn't see him again until stateside. He was in a VA hospital in Lexington, Kentucky. Wheelchair, 20 years old. Couldn't feel anything below his waist, and he still had that gap in his teeth and those ears. And the first thing he said to me when I walked in was, "Cecil, I never got my pie." I visited Danny twice. Once in the spring of '69 and once that fall. And both times I sat in that room with him and I could not breathe. It wasn't Danny that bothered me. Danny was Danny. It was the room, the smell, that hospital smell, disinfectant and something under it, something like old cafeteria food and defeat. And the sounds at night, the other men on the ward, some of them screaming, some of them just talking to people who weren't there. And every time I looked at Danny in that chair, I saw the courtyard. I saw the wall. I saw the muzzle flash from across the street. And I couldn't keep going back. So I stopped. I told myself I'd go next month, then next season, then next year. And next year turned into 5 years, and 5 years turned into 15. And then one day in 2004, I sent Danny a letter, first one in a long time, and it came back. Return to sender. No forwarding address. I made some calls. Took me about a week. Danny had died in 1987, in that same VA hospital, 17 years before I found out. 17 years. The nurses told the person I spoke to that in the last few years Danny didn't have many visitors. His mother had passed. His father had moved away. Some guys from the VFW came around holidays, but the guys from the platoon, the guys who were there, who were in it with him, we weren't there. I wasn't there. And I need you to hear this, because this is the part that matters. The bullet that hit Danny could have hit me. We were shoulder to shoulder behind that wall. Same wall, same distance from the street. There's no reason it was him and not me, except luck or God or random chance or whatever word you want to use for the thing that decides who walks away and who doesn't. I walked away with shrapnel and a Purple Heart, and a full life. A wife, kids, a job, a pension. And Danny got a wheelchair and a room in Lexington, and he died in it. And the one single thing I could have done to make any of that mean something, the one thing that was in my power, was to show up. Just show up. Drive to Kentucky and sit in the room and bring the man a pie. And I didn't do it. Not because I didn't care, because I was afraid. Because every time I walked into that hospital, the war walked in with me. And I chose my own comfort over his loneliness. I chose to not feel bad over him having to feel alone. And that, right there, that is the thing I will answer for. I believe that. Whatever's on the other side, if there is another side, that's the question they're going to ask me. Not about the war, about the after. I'm talking to you right now and you're listening, and part of your brain is already sorting this into a category. Old man's regret, sad story, Vietnam stuff. And then you're going to close this and check your phone, and there's somebody in your life right now, today, that you've been meaning to call, meaning to visit, meaning to apologize to. And you're telling yourself the same lie I told myself. You're saying, later. And later is not a plan. Later is a lie you tell yourself so you can sleep tonight. I know, because I slept fine for 35 years, and now I don't sleep at all. And I hear people say, well, I'm dealing with a lot right now. I got bills, I got work, I got stress. Yeah, you do. I did too. I welded the hulls of Navy ships for 27 years. You know what that is? That's squatting inside a steel box in Charleston heat with a 2,000-degree arc 6 inches from your face and a mask that weighs 4 pounds and you can't scratch your nose. I did that 5 days a week, sometimes 6. Came home smelling like flux and metal, and Lorraine would already have the bath running because she knew I couldn't touch anything in the house until I scrubbed the slag off my hands. I raised 2 children on a shipyard wage in North Charleston in the 1970s and 80s, and I'm black, so you can add whatever math you want to that. I'm not telling you life is easy. I'm telling you the hard parts aren't the reason you're not showing up. The hard parts are the excuse. My brother Ronald was killed in Vietnam in October of 1967. Operation Prairie, 3rd Marine Division. He was 23. My mother, Hattie Waters, she got the telegram on a Tuesday afternoon, and I watched something leave her body that never came back. She sat at the kitchen table, and she didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just went somewhere behind her own eyes, and she stayed there, a little bit, for the rest of her life. I enlisted 3 months later. My mother looked at me when I told her, and she said, "Then I'm burying both my sons." She didn't say it angry. She said it like a fact, like the weather. And I went anyway. And I came back, and Ronald didn't. And my mother she never talked about him again. Not once. She had a picture of Ronald on the mantel in the living room, and she dusted it every Sunday. and she never said his name. She died in '89, and at the funeral, Lorraine was going through her things and found a shoebox under her bed. Letters, maybe 40 letters, all from Ronald, from Camp Lejeune, from Okinawa, from Da Nang. My mother had kept every one, read them so many times the folds were wearing through. And I realized she didn't stop talking about Ronald because she forgot him. She stopped because the words for it didn't exist. Some grief is bigger than language. And when I think about my mother, and I think about Danny, I see the same thing. I see people who were left in the silence by the people who were supposed to show up. My mother was left in silence by God. Danny was left in silence by me. There's a thing that happens when you get old enough. The math changes. When you're 30, you think in terms of what you're going to build. When you're 79, you think in terms of what you left behind. And most of what I left behind is, it's wreckage with some good parts in it. My daughter Denise calls every Sunday. Every single Sunday. Has for 15 years. Sometimes we talk for an hour, sometimes 5 minutes. She's a nurse in Atlanta, and she's got more of Lorraine in her than she knows. My son Marcus is a good man. He's a fireman in Colombia. We're not close, not the way Denise and I are, but he's not mean about it. We just don't have the language. We never built it. I was working when he needed talking, and by the time I was ready to talk, he'd already learned to live without it. I don't blame him. I missed the window. That's on me. If I could go back, I wouldn't change the big things. I'd change the small ones. I'd change the Tuesdays, the regular nothing days where I came home and walked past my kids to the TV and didn't ask them one question about their day. I'd change the time I told Marcus to stop crying when he was 9 because his hamster died. A 9-year-old boy crying over a hamster, and I told him to toughen up. What kind of man says that to his own son? I'll tell you what kind. A man who's afraid of crying himself. A man who learned in a war that crying gets you killed, and couldn't unlearn it at the dinner table. I changed the morning Lorraine asked me to stay home from work because she was scared about a lump she found, and I said I'd lose the overtime. I went to work. She went to the doctor alone. It was benign that time, but she went alone. And 20 years later, when it wasn't benign, when it was pancreatic and stage 4, and there was nothing anybody could do, I was there every day. I was there for every appointment, every scan, every bag of chemo that didn't work. But she knew, and I knew, that I was there because it was too late to be anywhere else. That's not devotion. That's guilt wearing a good suit. I got 3 things I want to leave you with, and then I'm done. First, stop choosing comfort over people. Every time you don't make the phone call, don't drive to see somebody. Don't say the hard thing because it's easier to say nothing. You are building a house you're going to have to live in alone. I live in it. The walls are real quiet. Second, start telling people what they are to you while they can hear it. Danny Scoville was the bravest man I ever knew, and I never told him that. Not once. He died without hearing it from me. If somebody matters to you, you open your mouth and you say it. And if it feels awkward, good. The important things always feel awkward. They're supposed to. Third, this one's the simplest and the hardest. Go see somebody. Today. Not tomorrow, not this weekend. Today. Somebody you've been meaning to see and haven't. Somebody who's waiting, even if they stopped saying so. Get in the car. Buy a pie if you have to. Just go. I got a lighter in my pocket right now. Steel Zippo. Hasn't worked in over 40 years. It was Danny's. He gave it to me the night before he got shot. Said, "You're always losing yours." I carry it every day. Not because it means something beautiful, because it means something I can't put down. Because putting it down would be the last thing I ever do to Danny Scoville, and I've already done enough. Ain't about what the war took from you. It's about what you didn't do after. That's all I got. Go make your phone call.